He brutally ended his ex-wife and devised a terrible plan to hide the...
I really don't.
However, his lies did not manage to deceive the police, and he ended up confessing to avoid being sentenced to the maximum penalty.
That wasn't my freaking fault. I wasn't. And then all I'm thinking is, great, now I've pushed her and she's hurt her head, and I'm done.
Everyone got worried when Tricia Todd didn't pick up her daughter from daycare and vanished without a trace, which is why her brother called the police to report her missing. However, when the officers arrived at her house, there was nothing suspicious and everything seemed in order. Except for her car, which was parked out of place and had almost all her belongings inside, except for her cell phone and wallet. They had no leads to suspect anyone in Tricia's disappearance until her brother mentioned to the officers that the last person who had been with her was her ex-husband, Stephen Williams, who had supposedly traveled to the city to see his daughter.
I texted her, like, hey, babe, the super stuff fuzzy, I know it's late, but if you're up kind of thing, like, would you mind coming to comic or whatever? And then, like, she texts back, like, on my way. Awesome. So, a few days go by, she comes over, she sits with Paige. Paige is happy now. 12:30, 1 o'clock by now. Yeah. She leaves, Paige is asleep, and then, well, she didn't leave, actually, since her car's out of gas. Which, that really frustrates me. That's her thing. Her car never has gas in it. She mentioned there's a gas station up the street, and I was like, you know what, gas stations, gas cans, you got any money, I'll just drive my car, I'll go get you a gas can, it's gas, no big deal. So she gives me a 20, I leave the gas station maybe a half mile down. Get the gas can, pay for it, get 2 gallons of gas, leave for the gas in her car, and then I told her good night, basically. I'll contact you tomorrow, you can call me or whatever. That's it.
Stephen's story was so well structured that detectives paid attention to the gaps it had. And of course, the man pretended to be concerned about the situation. However, his attitude and body language said otherwise.
What do you think happened to her? I don't know. It would be like 1 in the morning or 3 in the morning, and she'd be like, oh, I wanted to go for a walk. She would say, like, I want to talk with God. But it's like at 2 in the morning, you're just going to be walking the neighborhood by yourself, like, you don't even have, like, some pepper spray, you don't have your phone, like, especially that kind of person that's oblivious to that stuff. She's always had that, like, God will protect me thing going on, like, nothing will happen to me, I'm a child of God. I'm thinking, like, that's good to have that kind of faith, but it gets to a point where, like, let's be reasonable here. Like, good people still die every day. There are times in life where things happen that we wish we could take back. And if this scenario that's involving you is a scenario where you either accidentally, intentionally, I don't know, did something, now's the time to tell us. I still care about her, I just don't want to be with her. That's right.
And indeed, behind that false concern was a terrible history of domestic violence, which is why Tricia decided to leave him. This, combined with testimonies from her neighbors, would have raised red flags for the police, since several saw him doing suspicious things late at night.
The neighbor saw you leaving her car. He saw you going back and forth. You recognize this area here?
That's the entrance to the community, isn't it?
Yeah, one way in, one way out. You got a lot going for you. You're good looking, you're young, you got straight, and you got this crazy, she's come after you before. Did she come after you that night? Something happened, and you were just, oh, what do I do now?
No, she never came after me, nothing.
It's an overwhelming amount of evidence pointing at you. So help me continue painting this picture of them. I just need to know where she's at.
I don't know where she is.
You don't even know where she's at.
I don't. I really don't.
That's how, after intense hours of interrogation, Stephen couldn't keep his lies afloat and decided to confess what had really happened.
It just escalated, and then I just moved her away, and then she slipped. And that's when she freaking fell, and I'm like, oh shit. I asked her if she was okay. was like a weird sound. She didn't say anything though. And then I freaking panicked. And then I just freaking panicked. And it's so fast. And then I pushed her. And then I didn't push. I was trying to get her away. Just please stop yelling in my face. It's like, just, you know, like, if she was at that instance, fine. But she wasn't. And I'm like, please just stop. And so I went to move her away, and she slipped, and she hit her head, and I didn't mean for that. That wasn't my freaking fault. I wasn't. And then all of it is great. Now I've pushed her, and she's hurt her head, and I'm done. I'm just, everything I've tried to do, everything I've tried to be, is done because I made a mistake. I didn't even lose my cool. I just tried to move you away. I just didn't.
The macabre plan of the ex-husband came to light, and he confessed that months ago he had bought a couple of chainsaws and dug a hole to bury Tricia. However, Stephen only agreed to take the police to the place where the remains dissolved in acid were in exchange for a plea deal of 35 years in prison. An agreement that ultimately saved him from the death penalty.